So the question is that the Auditor General's report on COVID benefits highlighted that the benefits helped the economy rebound from the pandemic, but at the same time raised concerns about ineligible payments and the lack of data to track the effectiveness of the wage subsidy program. In hindsight, what do you think their lessons are to learn from the delivery of these programs, and what would you do differently next time?
Yeah, thanks for the question. And first of all, I hope there isn't a next time. Seriously. And I think it's important for us to remember that when COVID hit, it was a once in a generation, once in a century shock to Canada. It was an economic blow, the deepest recession since the Great Depression. It was a social shock. Remember how traumatizing that was, how afraid we were, how hard it was to so many of us have to go home and stay home, how hard for the essential workers who had to go to work before there were vaccines and be really afraid, and thank you very much for that. And for our healthcare workers. So let's really, in judging actions taken in a crisis, in an emergency, remember that it was an emergency. I would also add to the conclusion around the economy. You cited the conclusion with which I very much agree, that the emergency support the federal government invested in getting Canada through COVID in purely economic terms was money well spent. It allowed us all to get through COVID without deep economic scarring. And you see that particularly in the jobs numbers. 117% of jobs that we had before COVID have been recovered. A tremendous jobs recovery compared to just 105% in the United States. You see it also in the fact that our businesses, very much including our small businesses, are still alive and kicking. And there was nothing inevitable about that. But I do want to cite one other very important fact about how Canada got through COVID. Over the summer, David Naylor and a group of researchers did a report, and they looked at how many additional people in Canada would have died had we suffered U.S. levels of mortality. And they concluded that an additional 70,000 Canadians would have died. Think about that. Like, that's the population of Fredericton. And those are our parents, our grandparents, our aunts and uncles who are still here because as a society, we took really tough measures that kept people alive, kept people safe, and we got through it with our economy intact. So overall, I think as a country, the provinces, the federal government, cities, individual Canadians, healthcare workers, I think overall, without kind of breaking our arms, patting ourselves on the back, but I think overall we can feel like we did a pretty good job in a once-in-a-century crisis. And I think that applies to the federal government's approach when it comes to supporting the economy and providing that floor that made it possible for us to get out of it with our economy intact, and also to put in place the really tough health protection measures that we needed to get through. Thank you.